Okay, George Saunders, puppy. Where should we start with this story? We start with the point of view, perhaps? So, this point of view, like who is the story, whose point of view is the story told from? And there were, actually say it again?
Both.
There were two people from whom the story, yeah. So, it started out from Marie's point of view, third person, Marie's point of view, and then from Callie's point of view. Did you guys find that confusing, or you were alright with that? Just followed along.
It was confusing at first.
Yeah,
But then once I realized it was switching back and forth, it made more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's, yeah, that's good. I mean, I thought he did a fairly decent job. Yeah, well, okay, it was an okay job. It was, so it's told from two different people's point of view, so that sort of takes away one of our tricks of figuring out who the protagonist is. Now, who's the hero in this story? Because oftentimes it's the person's point of view it's told from who is the protagonist. And then there's also the debate about actually whose story is this? Who calls what happened in this story? So there's that question, which I think we can debate also. But who would you think was the hero of this story? There's possible right answers. There's possible many answers, so don't be shy. Well, let me ask a different question. What did you think of Marie? Marie's the soccer mom, the one in the Lexus driving with the two children. What did you think of her?
She had an upbringing that was very different from what she's living right now, I believe. And so, because her mom was that the one whose mom definitely left her for 2 hours or something?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, she had a different lifestyle than her kid, and so she just wants to live what's best because her mom thinks that she spoils her kids, but she just really wants her kids to have a better life than she did.
So yeah, so there's one little line of the mom thinks she's spoiling the kids. Is that because she bought Josh the Noble Baker game? Mm-hmm. So this is again with George Saunders. He names things, he gives things weird names, but they're things that you can, okay, Noble Baker's broth stuffer, the Italian loaves pack. You're like, okay, expansion pack. So she had a childhood in which her mother forgot her one time after school and left her in a blizzard for 2 hours. And she had a childhood in which she was upset because she was locked in a closet while her mother entertained a literal ditch digger. Literal, not just a figurative ditch digger, but a literal ditch digger, which upset her greatly. And her father was very, I believe the word was dour, how do you pronounce that word? Dour. Mm-hmm. Was very dour. Okay.
They had no laughter.
There was no laughter in their home. So how does her current husband is completely different, right? It's his constant ho, ho, ho. No matter what she does, he just comes home and accepts it. So she puts an iguana on a credit card, and the husband comes on and says, well, and the iguana bites him, I think, and he says, well, I see you have an opinion on the matter, ho, ho, ho. It's a pretty funny story, right? A lot of George Saunders is often very humorous, but at the same time, it's very tragic. This is pretty much George Saunders, humor and tragic mixed in together. So Robert, and she says, and she put the ferret on the credit card. So you start wondering about this woman, but Robert doesn't complain. He just comes home and asks what the ferret eats. And how is he different from Jimmy, Callie's husband? Jimmy, where did Jimmy grow up?
Near a farm.
On a farm, near a farm. That was pretty funny, really, that Jimmy fancied himself as having grown up on a farm, when in fact his father owned a car wash on the edge of town. So, but that was his excuse for everything. He grew up on a farm, and she keeps, Callie keeps thinking, well, near a farm. But if she says that, what does he do? So he grabs her in this pinching thing and waltzes her around the room by that pinching thing as if that's her handle. So is this some kind of abuse? Yeah. I mean, it hurts, right? She does things to avoid making it happen. So it's abuse, okay. I mean, there's worse abuse, but it's definitely abuse. It's not very, but tell me this. How does Jimmy show that he loves his children?
How did Jimmy show it?
Yeah, yeah, this is a complicated story. Or do you think Jimmy does not love his children? What does he do? What does he believe that makes you think he loves his children?
Doesn't that have to do with him killing the animals?
Yes, it's and if she took it, Jimmy was off the hook. If he'd hated doing it at that time with the kittens, but if no one took the pup, he'd do it. He'd have to, because his feeling was when you said you were going to do a thing and didn't do it, that was how kids got into drugs. So he's killing kittens because he said he was going to kill kittens, and if he didn't kill the kittens, his kid would get into drugs. So this is how he shows he loves his children, by doing the thing he said he's going to do. Because he grew up on a farm. Or near a farm. So, it's actually, though, it is an interesting thing. I mean, how do you feel about him killing a sack full of kittens? How many of you have had family members kill animals like this?
It was different, but my grandpa used to we lived on the Mississippi River, and we had a lot of copperheads and snakes in our yard and stuff like that. And I was little, so I didn't like when he killed animals, but he'd always take a shovel and snap their heads off, so they didn't bite anybody.
Oh, copperheads?
Yeah, so I mean it's different, but from the point of view of a child, when I was little, I was like, you're killing animals. Him going around and just chopping the heads off snakes was equivalent of just kicking a puppy to me. So I mean it's different, but from the point of view.
But copperheads are mean. They bite you. They bite first and ask questions later.
Oh, I know that. When I was 6 and I saw him killing snakes, I thought it was terrible.
As long as it was only copperheads. So my neighbor kills black snakes and claims they're water moccasins, and they're not. And I keep telling her they're not, and she's just like, yes, they are. I'm like, this is a black snake.
Just the nurse.
Yes. Yes. You had your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, my grandpa told me this sad story when I was little. Not little, where it traumatized me. But when he was a kid, there was this older boy that his brother was acquainted with. And one day, he was a really weird, would just kill things. And he literally one day he took a pail or something and filled it with water and drowned a kitten in it.
It sounds like a budding psychopath.
Yeah.
Budding. Not budding, perhaps. Perhaps already is a psychopath. That just sounds like somebody who's just torturing animals for the pleasure of torturing animals. And Jimmy's trying to I don't, just to say what job he has, but you don't get the feeling they have a lot of money, right? She has managed somehow to hide $60 from him. And so she's definitely a good person who's trying to do something for herself and her children, trying to improve their lives. Because what is she thinking when she's walking back home? And after doing what she did to the puppy, she's thinking, oh, I'm just like a speed walker, except of course I'm wearing blue jeans and hiking boots. But maybe I should, save some money and buy some tennis shoes and start speed walking and get skinny. Well, not skinny, I'll never get skinny, but lose some weight anyway. And go to night school and become a medical technician, right? So she's trying to think of the future, trying to think how to make things better for herself and her family. And Jimmy, in a way, he's also trying to think how to make things better, right? Because the thinking is, they don't have enough money to feed any more animals. Now, this is the point where you're supposed to say, well, why didn't they take them to the Humane Society? I'm really surprised no one has said that yet.
So I was like, they could have just took them to a shelter or something like that.
Yeah, I thought it while I was reading.
Where are they?
Yeah, where are they? Does anyone know where they are? Hint. What's the one hint you get as to where they are?
Somewhere near a highway-ish.
All right.
It's near an interstate.
I-90 and a level 4.
But what else? What does she see a lot of as she's driving? What, yes, say it again.
Corn.
Corn. She's in corn. She's in a lot of corn. Where do they grow a lot of corn?
Here.
Midwest, by chance, yes. So, I think it's somewhere set in the Midwest. So, but again, we really don't know otherwise. Just, that much corn, I'm thinking Midwest. I know they grow corn everywhere, but the huge fields are usually the Midwest. And then there's one other hint where the woman is doing, Marie is doing that thing where she's giving voice to the puppy. The puppy is talking at one point in Maria's imagination. She gave it, what is I can't help it? Let me retrieve my southern accent that I tried to get rid of as a child. I can't help it. How's that? Very good. I can't help it. I can't help it. Would that be the South? Would that be the Midwest? Would that be George Saunders coming from the East Coast and not even having any idea what he's doing? Oh, I got some heads nodding going on here. George Saunders is from the East Coast. What does he know about Southern accents or Midwest accents or corn, for that matter? So, the one thing that I was thinking of is that oftentimes in these small rural communities out in the middle of nowhere, there are no humane societies. They're like 500 miles away. One humane society, and full. So that, in all honesty, how many thousands of animals get killed every day in the humane society? It's a lot. You can Google it later if you want to be depressed. Or not. So maybe they just plain could not take the puppy somewhere like a humane society, could not take the kittens to a humane society. I know that one of the stories I really like is a local's guide to dating in Slocum County, and the woman, the protagonist, is actually working at a humane society. And I think they mentioned in there that it's the only one in the entire county, and it's a huge county, so it serves serves thousands of people. So that's a defense for them. They may or may not have been near a humane society, but a lot of people, just depending on how you grew up, you don't even think about the humane society. This is possibly Jimmy, as suffering from masculinity. Not that masculinity is a bad thing, but think of the masculinity that says, the social mores that say you can't cry, or you can't. What are some other things that you're told as males, especially in the Midwest? I've had students who like their father taught them how to shake hands, and they have to shake hands really hard to the point that it actually hurts. I've almost had my bones crushed by people who were taught by their father to shake really hard because that's masculine, right? And you can't wear dresses. What's that about? That's not fair. I can wear dresses if I want to. Why can't you? I can wear men's clothes if I want to, right? I'm sure I've worn men's clothes in here, and none of you said a word. Because I've shopped at the Goodwill, right? There's some nice coats, there's some nice jackets at the Goodwill in the men's sections. I think it's probably men who die and their wives donate their clothes, and they're really nice. Yeah, okay. See, if I was a man, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to wear what's considered either gender's clothes. What, you guys can help me out here. I wasn't raised as a man. What are some things you're told you cannot do, other than not crying?
Crying is showing emotion, but you can't show emotion. There's a lot of stuff you can't do. Just can't think of another one.
Maybe all you men were raised perfectly and are not even aware of what is happening out in society. How about, were you raised to not talk in class? Is that? You were raised to not make mistakes, maybe? Did you get in trouble when you made even small mistakes?
I think that, just thinking about Jimmy's character, because I really like Jimmy's character a lot. When I do writing, I really like making characters that, because he kills animals, and to the reader, he seems evil inherently, because you go, oh no, he just killed these puppies and whatnot. But when we look at him, you see that he grew up in a car wash, right? And he tells people he lives on the farm. But, so, it's possible that he grew up in this little town on the car wash. His father telling him, oh, we're the big people in town because he lives in the car wash. But he sees all these people that are normal around him in these little farm communities, and he wants to be that farm community. So I think he sort of just starts to live his life as how he wants it to be. So he goes, oh, a man needs to do this, I'm going to do this. And he basically lies to himself and then makes himself a new person. And so he doesn't see it as wrong. It's sort of like a necessary evil, but it's just normal. So it's like, oh, I'm a man, I have to do what's right. I gotta kill this animal because that's for the greater good kind of thing. And it's just like, sort of to the abuse thing, it's just like, oh, I'm a man if my woman doesn't do this. And it's a very like difficult thing to look at because for an outside reader, that can be evil. The abuse is evil, killing the animal is evil, but for him it's just normal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. That, I mean, it's a thing that you have to do. You have to take care of this problem, and this problem is extra mouths to feed. And a sack full of kittens become a lot of mouths. They start breeding, they grow up and breed with each other, and then they just keep breeding, and you get thousands of kittens within just a few years. It's crazy. But yeah, so that's what you have to do. I'm trying to remember if I ever saw my father kill it. My oldest brother flushed a kitten down the commode, for what that's worth. It was, he's dead now, you can badmouth him if you want to. It was a newborn, it was missing 2 legs, so he flushed it down the commode. Now, I would have let it live and bought it a little wheelchair. It would have been awesome, right? It would have been fine. But, I fussed at him, but he said, well, I gave it a chance. I flushed it down the commode alive, it could have survived. This is my oldest brother. But my oldest brother was definitely, he is the first son raised on a farm. And, he was raised like this, that you had to be strong, you couldn't cry, you had to take care of any problem that arose, you had to take care of it. And, the oldest son that is usually the personality of the oldest son. They have to take care of everything. I mean, Josh kind of becomes the oldest son in this story, right? When they're at Callie's house and Abby's crying, she wants the puppy, and Josh says something to her to shut her up. I mean, up to that point, he was a child, and at that point, he sort of took responsibility because of what he saw in the backyard. So Jimmy, we kind of don't like Jimmy, but at the same time, we can recognize that he's a complex character who does what he thinks he has to do. Right. And do we like Marie? Soccer mom, loves her children.
I think she tries too hard.
You think she tries too hard?
Yeah. Just because she I understand why, she wants to give her kids the shelter she never had, but it doesn't have to be to the extreme, she's trying too hard. Some kids still need some type of self-love.
So the kids need to take responsibility for themselves sometime and learn independence. And she does weird things. Well, I thought it was weird. Maybe it's not weird. She buys Josh the Noble Baker game, and then she stays up late at night reading the manual of the Noble Baker game. So this is her trying to connect with the children, whereas the children are like, leave me alone. I'm an independent entity. But she's also thinking to herself, they're independent entities. Maybe they don't see haunted mansions in their head when they look at corn. That's fine. And then do you remember what they said about when Josh was playing the Noble Baker's game? He was withdrawn, I believe was the word that was used. And it was starting to bring him out. But he still, she's talking to him over his shoulder, use the serrated knife, honey. It cuts faster. And I didn't know you could do Italian loaves, honey. That's awesome. And what does he do with his free hand?
Swats her away.
He swats her away. Playfully, playfully swats her away. Or at least that's the point of view we're getting, that it's playful, possibly annoyed.
Right.
And at one point he knocks her glasses off, I believe.
And they both enjoy them all or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of laughter in this house, but the laughter always seems to be at the expense of the mother. Because what's that one time when he comes up to her in the bathroom when she's brushing her teeth, what does he do?
He like squirts toothpaste.
No, she spits toothpaste onto the bathroom mirror. Do you
Oh.
remember what Josh did to her to make her spit toothpaste onto the bathroom mirror? He goosed her. What is? Do you guys know what that is?
No.
With the Game Boy. So this boy, I'm not sure how old he is, but he walks up to his mom and sticks his Game Boy up her butt.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, we would not have done that to my mom. I don't know about this mom. But she spits toothpaste all over the mirror and then like they're all on the floor laughing. Okay. So I mean, I don't know, this, there's something odd about this boy. Or maybe that's not odd, I don't know.
I don't think it's him. I really do think it's her.
You think it's her? You think she encourages that behavior or just something that
She just lets it happen.
she lets it happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and she just laughs. Like, that's not something my mom would laugh at.
I'm pretty sure that my mom would have slapped me if I'd done that. And maybe slapping would be the wrong reaction. Okay. But laughing and allowing that to continue does not seem like the best reaction either.
It sounds like compared to what she experienced as a kid, like she may not have had like, I think that she actually said that like there was little to no laughter throughout her entire childhood.
Yeah.
So she may think that like any laughter is a totally fine reaction to anything because laughter has to be good, right? So maybe she's kind of like inserting it into situations where she doesn't actually know that it shouldn't be there because she thinks that it's a good thing that makes everything okay.
That's, yeah, so, I mean, that makes sense though, because she is trying so hard
Right.
to not have her children have the childhood she had. To the point that she seems to be, well, I mean, she's definitely sacrificing her own personality and her own needs. Yeah. And, I mean, like, they're going to get this puppy just because the little girl, Gucci, she's 5, I believe, and she's crying because she didn't know Gucci when Gucci was a puppy. Their adult dog.
Yeah.
Their adult dog Gucci. And, you know, like, maybe sometimes you say no, or maybe sometimes you say, okay, we'll get a puppy, but, you know, you have to go wash the dishes or something first. That's a chore. You have to earn this puppy somehow. And then there was definitely that one part where she's thinking to herself as they're driving, certainly the kids would take care of this animal because it didn't have scales. And so what George Saunders is telling us is that the kids have promised to take care of the iguana, promised to take care of the ferret, and they did not. Yeah, so the adults in the house are having to do it. So this is maybe your children shouldn't be the ones who decide whether or not to buy animals or not, basically. So this is, but she loves her children. I think we could say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely loves her children. Now, does Callie love her children?
I think she does.
I think she entirely loves, that's definitely Bo.
So she is.
She
Go ahead.
loves him, but in a different way. Like, because he has like problems. He's the one that was on like medication that like makes him like hit things or something like
Yeah,
that.
so his medication makes him grind his teeth and his fist slams down, so he's broken plates and at one point a glass table and had to get 4 stitches. Yeah.
And so she wanted him, or like he like does better outside. So she's trying to like give him that, but when he's outside without restrictions, he'll like run away. So she's like trying to keep him safe and give him what he wants, even if it's like weird to most people.
Yeah, I
the way
mean,
she's doing it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so, I mean, like, so we're seeing Bo from Callie's point of view first. And the first thing she thinks is perfect. This solution she has come up with is perfect. Bo is outside, he's happy, he's practicing his baseball by throwing pebbles at the tree. And it's perfect. And actually the last thing she thinks is perfect. The solution she came up with for Bo is perfect. And who came up with that? Her. And she remembers that the day before it had been bad weather, he'd been stuck inside all day, and he was just miserable, and at the end of the day he was crying and screaming. So it's a perfect solution, and she came up with it. So yeah, she's taking care of her child. And she does really seem to love him. Let me show you. Do you remember Josh? Josh was kind of sultry, didn't really talk to his mom. He would say things like, "Not now, Mom, I'm leavening my loaves," or whatever it was he was saying. And it helped, it really had. Josh was less withdrawn lately. So he was withdrawn. He didn't seem terribly friendly to his mom, whereas Callie's looking out the window at Bo. He looked up and saw her and did the thing where he blew a kiss. Sweet little man. I mean, Bo seems to be better behaved than Josh. You know, except for when he's not tied up and he runs away and he darts across an interstate, and the doctor actually said he's going to die, Callie. You've got to get him under control. So and that's what she's thinking. She's thinking maybe he'll mellow out when he gets older. But for now, she has to keep him alive. Is this anything like having a puppy dog? Have you ever had a puppy?
Yeah.
You know how when they're puppies, if you don't keep them on a leash, they dart out in front of traffic? And when they get older, they're mellow and they just hang out with you, mostly. Huh. And sometimes you tie your dog to a tree out in the backyard. Oh no. I don't think, I mean, it does really look like that in the story, right? But at the same time, I didn't really think that Callie was thinking about taking Bo out to the cornfield and dumping him off the way she did the puppy. It seemed to me that she really did love him. I mean, that's at least what we saw from her point of view. Now, Marie would probably disagree, right? Marie thought the child was being abused. You know, it's really sad. Do you know what's going to happen at the end of this story? We get, who is it that thought up that idea, the idea that had made today better than yesterday? Who loved him enough to think that up? Who loved him more than anyone else in the world loved him? Her. She did. What's going to happen tomorrow? Yeah, Marie is called Child Services. Yeah. So her life, I mean, Callie's life is already miserable. It's getting ready to get a lot more miserable.
Did she actually call? Or did she just think about calling? I thought she just was like, hey, I should.
I mean, what was not bullshit was a call to child welfare where she knew Linda Burling, a very no-nonsense lady who would snatch this poor kid away so fast it would make that fat mother's thick head spin. She doesn't call in the story, but there's no doubt in my mind that the second she got home, she called. Yeah. What do you think of that? Do you think Marie was right or wrong?
I think a normal person would call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially because they didn't know the context of what was happening then anyways. Like, I feel like Callie had the best intentions, but it's not being reciprocated the right way to the normal eye.
So she has the best intentions, but if somebody who sees that, is that kind of like when you see people walking their child on a leash in the mall? Nobody calls child services on them, right? I mean, kids can be kind of hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
Oh, my brothers have those.
Yeah, see? I mean, they probably ran off a lot. Yeah. And so that was a way to keep them alive until they got older and started listening. Yeah. Just like Bo.
I think for Marie, when she saw Bo tied up or whatever, it reminded her of her childhood when she was locked in the closet and whatnot. So she was just like, I wish someone would have done for me what I'm about to do for him.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, go ahead.
Because she talks about how she wishes she could go to him and say it's not going to be like this always and stuff like that.
Yep. Life will not necessarily always be like this. Your life could suddenly blossom into something wonderful. It can happen. It happened to me. Yeah. So that's what she's thinking, and she's trying to give him a look that says it's going to get better, but she knows looks are bullshit, but what's not bullshit is calling child welfare. Okay?
I think she should have asked.
You think she should have asked?
I don't know, I guess most people probably wouldn't say nothing because they'd be like, it's kind of weird, let me just go away and just say something. I don't know. I would just ask, because she just abruptly kind of ended the whole thing. But I don't know if Callie caught on to the fact that she looked out there and saw that at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think Callie did catch on. I don't think she had any idea why the woman suddenly decided she wasn't taking the puppy. So, but also Callie doesn't think she's doing anything wrong.
Exactly.
And maybe if Marie had asked, Callie could have explained it and Marie would have been a little more understanding. I mean, it's not much different than walking your kids on leashes in the mall. Okay, so who is the protagonist? Both are the protagonists. Okay, so both the point of view is from both of them. They both have a really huge part in this story. I think that's a very good answer. What's another possibility though? Who made things happen in the story? Callie made things happen?
But technically Marie, because she didn't buy the dog, so it made Callie have to go kill it.
So
Sorry.
Callie's the one that took the puppy out into another cornfield and set it down, but Marie, in her judgmental attitude, didn't take the dog, and not even for free. So in a way it was her, but there's one other person who, Bo, because he has a mental illness or something and has to be tied up to a tree.
Marie was only like disgusted with the house until she saw Bo, and then she was like, oh my god, this house is abusive, I'm not going to take the puppy.
I mean, she wasn't.
So that seemed like I mean, maybe not Bo like as a character, but the situation he was in, which I guess was technically from Callie, so Callie.
I think they both made things happen, so that's why I said both.
What? Yes, but what about, I mean, you're all correct. Every one of you are correct, but what about Jimmy? Why is Callie, ultimately why is Callie taking the puppy out to the cornfield? Because if she does it, Jimmy will. And also Jimmy is the one that if she says, Jimmy, you didn't grow up on a farm, stop killing animals. Stop using that as an excuse. He's the one that's going to grab her and pinch her and watch her around the bedroom and say, I think I didn't hear what you said there, did I? And he's bent and worried. He's not the young man with long blonde hair she married. He's bent and he's worried. There's not enough money. I don't think it says his old man shrunk with worry. I mean, they do, you know, when they're having it, when she does it, get mouthy with him, they sit around and talk about buying hooked on phonics for the children and moving to Arizona and opening a car wash. But I mean, who do you think left a crankshaft? Let me find this. A crankshaft on a cookie sheet in the middle of the living room. Do you guys know what a crankshaft is? Oh, something from a car. It's a big part from a car or probably Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy's probably the person who left a crankshaft. On the other hand, Callie probably could get the basketball out of the sink and the pasta pot on the bookshelf and the but there's a partial red paper afloat in a can of green paint. I mean, that's probably Jimmy's green paint. Maybe. And so, but Jimmy is the one who, if Callie doesn't do exactly what he wants her to, she gets a little bit abused. And Jimmy is the one who is going to kill the puppy, just like he killed the kittens, and he's the one who is going to come back from killing the puppies sad. Like he said, the kittens mewed in the sack the entire way. And he's sad and he's bent and he's worrying and he's not going to be, it's not going to be a happy family life if he has to kill the puppy. So she kills the puppy for him. Of course, there's always this tragedy.
And because like the girls kind of made fun of him and like called him a killer, a kitten killer.
That's
stuff
right.
Like that. And then he cried later that night.
That's
and
right.
So she was also taking that pain away from like the girls not liking him and him not liking himself, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's just probably, I mean, you didn't like watching your grandfather kill copperheads. Can you imagine he was drowning kittens in the Mississippi? That would have been much worse. Yeah. And the girls yelled at him, called him a killer. And Bo got very upset about that. And then he was very vulnerable. He cried. You know, that's really when we love people the most, is when they're the most vulnerable, right? That's at least what I've been told. So he was at this very vulnerable position. So she's trying to help him not have to do this again. She's trying to help keep she's also, the girls I assume are off at school, so they don't know what has happened to the puppy. In fact, she plans on lying and saying the woman took it. And she plans on taking $20 out of her $60 stash and giving it to Jimmy and making life a whole lot better, right, for everybody. So the girls don't have to think of him as a murderer, don't have to hate their father. I mean, that kind of thing would kind of make me hate my father. And so, in a way, it's Jimmy that makes things happen, even though he's very much a flat character. But then, this is an argument we can make, right? It was Callie, it was Marie. Marie's the one who makes things happen after the story by calling child welfare services. Marie's the one that doesn't take the puppy. Marie's the one that makes the decision to get the puppy in the first place and drives all that way. So, it could be anyone's story, I guess. Marie, Callie, Jimmy.
But I think
There's-
this is, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But it occurs to me when we think about, like, what's the trigger of the story? It's not, for me, it's not the point of view and it's not the protagonist. I think about where's the what if? And this may be a stretch, but I think what if? Where did the seed of this story originate? And I think, what about that abandoned dog? We see abandoned dog, of course I'm a dog lover, right? But what if the author, Saunders, just wanted to write a story about, why is this dog abandoned? And just imagine the rest of it, the what if. But really the seed, is it possible that the seed could have been just from the dog and not one of the characters?
So the puppy is what made things happen. Or, I mean, in a way, the puppy is what everything centers
Revolves
around.
around.
I mean, the disruption of the story is the puppy, who is sick or extra, not sick but extra, so it has to be gotten rid of. There is this one nice possibility, probably not, but maybe when Callie walked the puppy out into the cornfield so that Jimmy wouldn't have to, maybe she was also thinking to herself the puppy might survive. I mean, she gave it a chance, right? Like my brother flushing a live kitten down the commode. Instead of killing the kitten first,
Yeah,
crawl out through the sewage.
somebody find them.
I mean, maybe the puppy, it's hard to imagine, because you imagine how huge these cornfields are. And the puppy was so small, it just sort of sat down and tucked down. I mean, this is a very young puppy. Probably too young to be given away anyway, really. But there's always the chance that the puppy will be found, will wander its way out to the highway, will be seen by George Saunders and have a short story written about it. Usually, if you saw a puppy beside the highway, you'd stop and pick it up, right? No, I would.
You would.
Somebody would. I'm sure of that. Somebody would. Okay, so there's always a chance that this woman was actually thinking, really perfect. She had a perfect solution. Get rid of the puppy, lie about what happened to the puppy. Puppy survives and gets a better home. There's always the hope, right? Okay, but they both loved their children. It's a really interesting story in that we have these two completely different people who are very complex. They both love their children. Neither one of them are perfect. But we do know they both are doing the best they can, right? But Marie does turn out to be a little judgmental. In a way, George Saunders maybe is a little judgmental. But he does put the thoughts, like, when he calls the woman a fat, thick, stupid woman, he puts it in Marie's head. But he is, it's also, there's this, he's writing these characters. These aren't my favorite characters. These are not people I want to emulate in my life. They're not my heroes on a quest. They are too, George Saunders himself might be a bit judgmental here. He's got a couple of hicks in the middle of a cornfield somewhere in the Midwest or in the South or somewhere because he lives on the East Coast. But it's still, you like this story. You like it was really, the mix of humor was really great. It was that first sentence. Did you notice how long that first sentence was? This is George Saunders. Twice already, Marie had pointed out the brilliance of the autumnal sun on the perfect field of corn, because the brilliance of the autumnal sun on the perfect field of corn put her in mind of a haunted house. Not a haunted house she had ever actually seen, but the mythical one that sometimes appeared in her mind with the Jason graveyard and cat on a fence, whenever she saw the brilliance of the autumnal sun on the perfect, etc., etc. And she wanted to make sure that if the kids had a corresponding mythical haunted house that appeared in their minds whenever they saw the brilliance of the etc., etc., it would come up now so that they could all experience it together like friends, like college friends on a road trip. Sans pas, ha ha ha. That's hilarious.
I didn't know that was a full sentence.
That's one sentence and it's hilarious. Yeah.